Welcome, Europe. This is Rich and Eddy. We decided that rather than doing our questions separately, we thought it would be best to just kind of actually go back and forth since there's a lot of overlap in what we do and how we handle this stuff. So Rich and I are going to ask questions back and forth of each other. And I'll start with questions for Rich, and we'll try to get as many as we can in about 10 minutes. There's a lot of questions you guys got, which really appreciated. So we're trying to get as many as we can get through. The first one for Rich, you've been in charge of art and design for Vampire Masquerade for many years, and which one are your three most favorite art pieces in the history of Masquerade? And that's from Bell in Poland.
Wow. That is even narrowing it down to Masquerade. Picking three pieces would be. I don't think I could do that. We're talking. I mean, Book of Knot had 150 pieces in it. Every core book has somewhere between 50 and 100. And part of it is, wow, there's so many that I like, and then there's also, I don't want to pick three and then have somebody email me being all pissed off I didn't pick one of theirs. How about I'll narrow this down to right around the first year, and right about that, and three that I think, of course, for me, not only are they visually stunning and pleasing, but because there's so many that are that way, but also are they inspiring me in some way, either as a player or as a storyteller, or just in a general sense as to tell me a story. Does it inspire me to think what the story is for what's going on and what's being depicted? So I'd say for me, a couple of them. One of Tim's, it's the one that we don't see that much of, but it was in the first edition, and it's the man in the cemetery. He's either blind or he's got the glasses on, and there may just be sunglasses, but I sort of thought he was blind, and that one to me just suggests this moodiness and this amazing world that lurks around this guy who's now, this is where he is. He's inside a cemetery. What's he doing in there? What's a blind guy doing in a cemetery? And there's just something really beautiful about it. Very still kind of scene. The second one, Eddie, this is not going to be a surprise to you because is Josh Timbrook's Sullivan Dane picture.
Oh, yes.
Putting on his glove. That to me is always amazingly evocative. Not, of course, for the character that I was playing or anything like that, but for what I could be dealing with and for the kind of antagonist and the kind of just, again, the stories behind what goes on in Vampire. And then I imagine there's one more piece, and it's in the Book of Knot, that I've always found both to be beautiful and just to have sort of a silent sadness about it. And it's the picture of Cain on his obsidian throne, his basalt throne, his black throne, and he's there, and he's got the one hand towards the head, and he's got his other arm like this, and there's like a snake coming up, and I don't remember if the snake was actually whispering secrets to him or not, but there's just something awful about. I mean, pretty sure this is after they've established the vampiric city, and like I said, there's just something powerful yet sad about the piece that I always found really compelling. So,
nice.
So that's those.
There's also your lucky piece.
Well, but I mean, I'm not going to say one of my pieces is my favorite.
Right.
I wouldn't do that. And I really get punched out of conventions by artists.
Exactly.
So, Eddie, I have a question for you.
Okay.
And having okayed this particular thanks on the credits page, I wanted to go into this question particularly. In your retrospective article, you mentioned your wife Michelle and how you two met each other. Masquerade has changed the life of many fans, which is amazing. Regardless of the CCP White Wolf difficulties, what are your expectations as to the future of the Vampire Masquerade universe and fan communities? How do you see the worldwide fan community in 20 years' time? That's from Lorenzo in the United Kingdom.
That's actually an interesting question because I think a lot of fans realize that White Wolf and the fan communities have had a, let's say, a rocky relationship over the past 20 years. And certainly I've been on both sides of the fence, both inside the company and heavily involved in the fan community. And I think that it's going to continue to grow and change. I don't think it's going to grow in the sense of more people are going to start swarming in and being a part of the community, because I just don't think any communities are really that way anymore. In the 90s, there's lots of, you were part of a particular community, and that was something you were very involved in. I think as the internet grows, it's more easy to access different communities. Lots of people are parts of multiple communities. I think it's what's going to happen is that more people are going to become part of the World Arts community as one of many communities that they're involved in. So I think it's going to grow, but it's also going to diversify. I think there's could certainly be a lot of, hey, I play Exalted and I play a Vampire, so I'm part of the Exalted and Vampire communities. I also play live action, so I'm part of the live action community. And I think there's a lot more of that identifying different chunks, but I also think there's going to be a lot more bleed over. People who love to put out YouTube videos talking about their vampire game, or putting a podcast talking about what their character's done in the previous session. As the media diversifies and changes and the internet changes, I think that the community is going to expand into these new areas, because I think role-playing communities in general have always taken really good advantage of the tools and taking these opportunities and really digging into them. So I think the Masquerade community and all the World Arts communities are going to continue in that direction.
Yeah, I think that's obviously we get our information and we get our entertainment from so many different sources now. It's hard to just be, I'm only this, when we have so many interests, and those interests are being fed. There's almost always a website for somebody who's interested in the most obscure kind of tangent.
Mm-hmm.
Just build bridges.
Yeah.
He's an expert on esoterica.
It really is, and it's been amazing to work with him on stuff like that.
Yeah.
So, question for you. This is from Christian in France. He says, congratulations on the art pictures in V20 where Cain and the beginning of the Kindred are depicted. He feels that it really gets a feeling of return to vampire mythology that made Masquerade so enjoyable. But then you also created 13 new amazing stereotype pictures with fans as models. And just to clarify, not all of the models were fans, but certainly a lot of them were.
Well, they were fans, whether they were working with us or for us. They're still fans.
That's certainly true. But some of them were also employees. So I want to clarify that.
Yeah.
But the question is, how are you planning to surprise us all for the V20 companion in terms of the art?
Ooh, well, if I told you, it wouldn't be a surprise. But I can say that the one thing about V20 companion is, of course, it is a companion volume to Vampire 20th anniversary edition. So the arts, I'm a little constrained by following the same sort of pattern that we did with that, which is it is part of a nostalgia sort of thing. It's starting to move into different areas. So I will be bringing some new art or artists to the table, but I will also be using some classic Masquerade artists, and I will also be pulling some of the pieces that I think are some of the very best when they're appropriate to the subject matter that Justin is putting into the book. So if we've got some phenomenal pieces of art of or Castle, then absolutely, we'll be pulling from those as well as getting new pieces. So I think V20 companion will be just as lush and beautiful. Again, you'll probably see a couple new artists as opposed to in Vampire where there's 20th where there's only one new artist for Masquerade, and I let people try to figure out who that is, but but in any event, I think it's going to be a wonderfully evocative and appropriate companion to the big book itself.
Excellent.
So let's see, Eddie. Now I'm going to completely screw this guy's first name up, and I feel really bad about that, but please bear with me. So, is the classic Monsters Redone, in air quotes there, unofficial outlook of the world darkness more of a hindrance or a nice focus? And that's João Mariano from Portugal.
I think it's a nice focus, especially when I started doing initial work for Mummy before we brought C.A. Suleiman on board. It was really helpful to be able to go back to those classic archetypes and go, what can we do that's fresh, but also what can we do that's recognizable? Because as supernatural fiction has evolved in the past 20 or so years, there's so many different takes on vampires and mummies and werewolves and all these other monsters that you really do start to lose focus. It becomes, the extreme example is Twilight. Some people don't even recognize Twilight as vampires anymore because they're so far afield from the classic monster archetype. And so I think by going with that kind of unofficial idea of, let's do Mummy with, and bring those classic mummies back. Let's do Promethean and bring that classic Frankenstein's monster idea into it. Really helps to give the product a nice focus. And then from that constraints set of parameters, then we can really dig in and see what's cool and exciting about this concept rather than just layering random things in. So definitely from a creative perspective, I like having more focus than less. I think it brings a stronger product in the end.
Yeah, I think we even talked about this. Is that there's an old design credo, when you're doing graphic design in particular, that the more limits someone puts on your project, the clearer your thinking is, and actually the easier it is to stay really focused and to produce something that's absolutely amazing. Versus if you've just been saying, hey, could you make us a thing? What does that even mean? As soon as you start to describe it, you are putting limits on it. So it actually helps to create a process.
Exactly. I have a question here from Donna, who's our lovely contact with V20 Europe. Yeah, we've met her once. How do you decide that an artist has what it takes to contribute to World of Darkness artwork and maintain the top-notch level that fans are used to? What do you value the most to pick up the artist, the darkness they capture in their artwork or the technical quality?
The darkness they capture in their artwork. That's a lovely phrase.
It really is.
And I can't honestly say that because I'm thinking of it from putting that phrase into what all the criteria were that I've used over the years, and I guess the ability to portray dark subject matter and to have that kind of that feeling that it's there, again, that there's a story there and that there's a depth to it there versus I just drew this guy with these spikes coming out of his chest. That's real badass, man. But particularly for vampire, for the mood and just sort of I think she phrased it really nicely. The technical ability obviously is very, very important, and from the many artists over the years who have not made it into our books, but have actually some of them have never made it into our books and have gone on to great careers because at that time in their lives they were not at the place we needed them to be, and other people have come back again and again and again and finally blink, yeah, now you're ready, let's go, let's do some stuff, and then so I think there's both those things are weighed relatively equally, and I think we've seen that we were willing to let artists who maybe needed more work on the technical end, if they were really, really fantastic storytellers or they could bring that darkness, okay, give that a shot. And similarly, there were artists who were amazing technically, just blew other artists out of the water. And when we looked at them, we always kind of felt those guys we could give more coaching to about what the World of Darkness is all about. And the piece that comes to mind for me is the wonderful Clyde Caldwell. It was the First Players Guide that he did the cover of, the hardcover maybe the Players Guide for second edition. And Clyde is a well-known fantasy artist. He was working at TSR for Dungeons and Dragons and doing all these covers. And the idea that he could step into our world and portray something that really had a feel to it, I think it's again technically done, very, very interesting, very nice piece. And then he got close enough to what we're trying to do with the World of Darkness that it's very memorable, and people still come up and talk to me about it. So I think we nailed that one. But I really wasn't sure that this guy who painted elves and what are they, halflings in D&D?
short people.
Yeah, various short people was going to be able to make the jump, because I mean I knew what his style was. It was nice to see that, and it's great to have faith in an artist who can make that happen.
Excellent.
Okay, let's see what we got here, Eddie. As far as development goes, I'm really curious about what you're doing for this Onyx Path stuff. Are we going to see more Vampire the Masquerade products, or is V20, the V20 Companion, and the SAS sort of be the end of that? And that's from Phil in Sweden.
Well, there's actually two answers to that. The first easier answer, and probably best answer for everybody, is that we're definitely doing more Vampire the Masquerade books. We already have Justin contracted to do Children of the Revolution, which is going to be a book of characters. Yeah. And there's going to be not
characters and backstories.
Characters and backstories.
Stories and history.
And that's not only going to be open development, but also Justin's going to have an all-call so people can contribute their own characters to that product. So the fans can actually contribute to adding characters to the canon of Vampire the Masquerade.
Yeah.
And we're also going to do Hunters Hunted 2, which is a supplement for Hunters Hunted. Way back in the day, it was a Masquerade source book, and we're going to go back to that idea of the Hunters being one of the big antagonists for the vampires, and re-examining them again, that kind of gut level, what it means to hunt the monster.
Right, and that is Hunters obviously with a small H.
Right, yeah, not the Hunter game line Hunters. But just the Inquisition, the guys who, the guys who have the torch and the stake, and the Van Helsing kind of hunters.
Or the Sullivan Dane.
Or the Sullivan Dane, good example. But the more long-term answer is that this is kind of an experiment still. We did V20 as a company. Rich and I and all the development team were very passionate that V20 was going to do well, and we were blown away by how well it actually did. And so we agreed to do a few more books because we wanted to see how those do. And that's where the Onyx Path came from, is that, we're going to try a few more books and see how those do. And if people still react as strongly, then we'll do even more of those books. That's where Werewolf 20th came from. That's where these books came from. We also have one Mage the Ascension convention book. For this year, that we're going to do, because the Technocracy convention books were never finished, so we're going to try to finish the lineup if we can. But if those don't do well, if they stop selling, then we're going to have to make different financial decisions. So this is not an expectation of you will always have new Masquerade books forever. This is we're going to do a few more, and if those do well, we'll do a few more. And if those do well, and keep going until it stops doing well. So we will keep doing them as long as people keep buying them and enjoying them, is I think the real answer for that.
Yeah, and I think that there's still possibilities even in the year to come that we may shift some of those things around. There may be more Masquerade style or Masquerade set kind of products that we don't even know about yet. It's just one of those things where we're really jumping back in a little bit, and all we've really scoped out is the first year is 2012. So 2013, who knows what it could be?
Exactly. And wow, we're almost at 20 minutes, so I'm going to go ahead and give you the last question here. But I think that this is good for lots of fans asking questions like this. This is from Baz in Netherlands. He asked, you can order the clan books on Drive-Thru-RPG for about the same price as ones on eBay. Are you planning to do more print-on-demand of old content, as well as stuff that was PDF only in the first place? And also, what do you think of the quality of those print-on-demand products in comparison to the ones that you publish yourselves?
Well, to begin with, we had opportunities to do print-on-demand products, I would say going back almost 10 years. We were examining the possibility of doing print-on-demand. I never liked the quality. I didn't think it was up to snuff. I didn't think it looked like somebody was poorly Xeroxing it. The binding wasn't good. What Drive-Thru was doing, and with their partner that they're working with on this, those are incredibly beautiful books. There is still some, in some of the absolute finest review of the grayscaling. Not all of them are phenomenal, but I think Eddie, you even tell the story of putting the two. One was a print on demand, and one was an actually.
Yeah,
regularly printed book?
it was for Exalted. We were doing some initial tests, and I had a copy of Scroll of the Kings that Brian Glass had put together through a traditional publishing method, and then I had a print-on-demand copy from Lulu at the time, which was a company we were initially going with. And then I had them both on my desk, and Brian came in and was just looking for a copy, and he said, "Hey, which one's the print-on-demand one?" And Brian had been doing this for, I think at that point in time, about 10 years.
Oh, yeah.
So he knew these books very well. Brian's our art director for Exalted. He knew these books inside and out, and he looked at both those books and could not tell them apart. So I pointed out that one had some, like a quarter of an inch taller at that time. Right. So yeah, these are. I understand there's still this perception that for some reason it looks like it's off a printer or something, but the reality is that these are just as good a quality as you would have gotten from a normal print run, and it's unless you know what you're looking for, it's almost impossible to tell the difference.
Right, we would not have printed them if they were really poor quality. And there are varying stages of that as well when you're looking at it. The one thing is that any of the black and white books cannot do full bleeds. They're not at that stage in their technology yet, and we could have waited for that. And then maybe we wouldn't have these print-on-demand books out until maybe next year, or the year after. There's really no way of knowing. So we made the call that we would make sure there was always be a white border around each of those pages so that everybody could see this was intentional. This is the way we want this to be, so it's not weirdly cut into different angles all over the place and stuff like that. The other thing is that some of the books that are going to be able to go into print-on-demand are going to be from old scans of the books. Mm-hmm. And so we're trying to clean up as many of those as we possibly can, but we also know that people really want these books. So we'll price them accordingly, make them, we'll make sure that there's a label like with the PDFs that this is from a scan, and hopefully everybody will be able to get that now. And I think this is the time. By the time we're done, and we don't know when that is, but we're hoping within a year or two, every White Wolf book that's ever been printed will be available in print on demand.
Exactly,
So
and that's
if you can get your Dead Tree version and read it in the bathtub without fear of electrocution, and I think it'll really work. I can't give an actual date or an actual product. This particular one will be out in this time because they're just working as hard as we possibly can to get them out.
And I think that's really the reality of where we're going as a company. I mean, you and I have spent a lot of time talking to fans all over the world, not just to Europe, but to fans all over the world, talking about how White Wolf 2.0, we're moving forward, going to digital age. But part of that movement is also to bring things that people love for the past 20 years back into their hands. They don't have to go to eBay. They don't have to go to half-price books. These books are out of print. People still use them. People still love them. People still bring them to their tabletops and play with them, and want to make sure that we're still facilitating that. So now, hey, I need to provide a clan book. I can just go to DriveThruRPG, buy a copy, and it's made for you. It's sent to you. It will always be available, and that's
it is literally as easy to use as Amazon. I just want to repeat that. It's as easy to use as going to Amazon and buying a book. Same sort of setup. You look, you see the one you want, you click on the one you want, they tell you how much it's going to cost, you put in your payment stuff, and bam, they will be sending it to you. So
yeah, and one of the things when we first went into this relationship with DriveThruRPG, one of the things that we talked about was to make sure that there was a printer in the UK, so that way Europe did have a chance to buy these products in a way that was reasonable for them to be shipped, because we knew it was a big problem. And actually, that was one of the reasons why we ultimately did decide not to go with Lulu, was because they did not have a European solution that we were happy with. So
that was one of the reasons, yes.
So definitely, this is also going to help the European fans so they can get those books in a much more timely fashion. And as translation solutions fall into place, then those books will be available as well. Right now, it's primarily focused on English books, getting those out in the door, but it's still going to be cheaper and get access to those classic books. And then, as we can get more translation solutions into place, which we don't have any information on yet, but as we're interested in that, and as we go forward, they'll go through probably these same programs, these same processes to be able to get those books again just as easily.
Absolutely, and that's I think one of the wonderful things about this is. A lot of people's copies of the original books, they've got them stored, or they've got, they've been using them, and now they're getting all mangled and stuff like that. And this is a way to be able to always be able to get versions of the books that you want, that you've been missing, without having to as you said, pay some crazy price on eBay or whatever, So I think it's an eternal and virtual shelf.
Yeah.
You know, that you can just, and it's very easy to use. So I mean, it's I'm really hoping to hear more from our fans about, you know, how they've been using the print-on-demand books. They're called Now in Print books when you go to drive-through, so NIP, and sort of, you know, here's where we say we understand. People like books. We love books. That's why we got into publishing. But again, much like we said at the beginning of this, people's options need to. We need to be able to provide people options, or we're not delivering our world in the manner in which people are used to getting it.
Absolutely. So we're way over the time we allotted, but as it's been clear, Rich and I could talk about this stuff forever, and we're happy to talk to fans and answer questions as much as we're able to. For the European fans, if you guys are interested in hearing more from us, first of all, you can always email us at questions@white-wolf.com. That comes to both Rich and myself. I've had a podcast for the past couple of years, the White Wolf Blogcast. All the archives are available on drivethroughrpg.com, and we also go into a lot of these questions over the past few years. And then they're all available for free. You can download the episodes for free, and there's 80-ish episodes now. So certainly you can look through those and answer questions. Yeah, I've been doing this for a long time.
Nice.
And also, you know, white-wolf.com, our forums are available. Rich and I are on Twitter. Rich and I are on Facebook. We have a White Wolf Facebook page. WW Publishing on Twitter. We're trying to be out there and be available, and we've certainly had a lot of great times talking to fans all over the world, especially fans from Europe, and we hope to keep that conversation going. So,
with the various ways to communicate, there's absolutely no reason why we should let an ocean stand between us any longer. And
exactly,
you know.
We're hoping that people have a chance to use the technology so that we can stop being a North American company and a North American audience and start having a global audience.
Absolutely.
So, thank you guys very much for letting us take some time out of your event, and we hope that we can talk to you guys again.
Yep. Thanks, guys.